Welcome back to Epic Agents, the Best in Real Estate podcast. Joining me today is David Sirzyk. He's the principal at Set Real Estate Group, a Compass affiliate in Atlanta, Georgia. David, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff, for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited too. I've been looking for this conversation. We talked a little while back, kind of leading up to this recording, about some of the ways that you're winning in your career in real estate, and you and your team are really successful, great producers in the Atlanta market. But you've also worked in sort of a niche that kind of interests me, a niche in the real estate industry. So we're going to dive a little bit into that later. But for now, I always love to ask my guests, before we talk about the work you're doing now, the real estate industry, tips and advice for new agents. What were you doing before you got into real estate? Real estate's usually not the first choice out of college or high school. It tends to be. I've found that it is for some people, but I've found that it tends to be the second or third choice. What were you doing prior?
Yeah, residential real estate was not the thing that I was going to be doing straight out of college, but I did actually go into real estate, which I know is somewhat unique, as you mentioned. And so when I graduated from the University of Georgia, I went to work in commercial real estate for a gas station company, kind of sourcing their new locations in the Southeast. And from there, I started, realized, hey, there was a little bit of an opportunity in residential real estate. This was back in 2012. The market was kind of just coming back. And I said, let me just do this as a little bit of a hobby. And what started as a hobby has now become, an everyday job. So I was very fortunate to get in when I did, and I'm sure I'll tell you a little bit about that, but excited about kind of, what we have in store here.
The CEO of my real estate company that I'm affiliated with here in the Charlotte metro area recently gave a little talk at a luncheon and that I was attending, and he mentioned it's during the Q&A, someone had asked, hey, would you recommend for anyone to get into the real estate industry as a career right now? And he said, well, look at it this way. His kids just graduated from college, right? So it's fresh in his mind. And he said, if your kid comes home from college and says, hey, I want to be a real estate agent, and you say, great, what are the benefits like? Oh, there are no benefits. Okay. What's your salary? Well, there is no salary. And on we go. And he said, it's a tough, you're basically self-employed, right? You're running your own business. It's a tough industry. However, on the flip side of that, he did mention, he made a point to mention that the majority of the really highly successful brokers that he's been acquainted with over the course of his career began in their 20s. The ones that he knows began in their 20s really built successful careers. And I think a lot of that is attributed to the risks that we can take in our 20s, right? The financial risks we can take. We don't have, generally speaking, don't have families that we have to support in our 20s or at least early 20s. And if we make a mistake, we have time to make up for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was 24 years old when I got into business, and so I had a very entrepreneurship mindset, and that's how I kind of do with everything in business and everything kind of in life. And so for me, I saw an opportunity, and I remember telling my parents and telling, at the time my girlfriend, who's now my wife, kind of what I was going to be doing, and saying, hey, I'm going to leave a salaried position to go commission only. And by the way, I've got no business right now. And everyone was kind of looking at me like, are you crazy? And like, what are you doing? And I said, I have an opportunity, and I know it. And I think, that did almost help me propel to where I am today. I mean, I think honestly, it did motivate me more to be successful, and it motivated me to make sure that I proved everyone wrong. And then I said, hey guys, you can do this. And, if you dive in the deep end, as they say, it will, and you will learn to swim. Like in this case, I did. And so, I agree with what, with sort of what you had just mentioned, that story. I just think it's such an important thing to know that, this is not an easy job, and a lot of people may think it's easy, but it is not easy, and it is time consuming. And, I noticed there was an opportunity, and I jumped in, and it's been great. And so, it's funny. I don't have any regrets with how I got here. I have other regrets on ways I've done things and something, but how I got to where I am in residential real estate, I have absolutely no regrets.
Well, that doesn't, of course, there's going to be some stumbles along the way, right? Because being a residential real estate agent, you're essentially self-employed. You're building your own business, and part of the entrepreneurship journey or the entrepreneurial journey is experimenting, right? Experimenting with marketing, with networking, with strategies and business planning. And experiments, by their nature, are prone to failure, right? So that's a Jeff Bezos quote. I'm not that smart. I didn't come up with that, but it resonates with me because I've made so many blunders in my entrepreneurial journey over the years with other businesses and also my current business and real estate, of course. So it's something, I just think it's worth underscoring, especially for anyone who is thinking about getting into the industry or who is new to the industry that might be listening to this podcast, that I think it's always worth repeating and underscoring that, come into it with your eyes wide open.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that.
So you shared a little bit about how you got into the real estate industry. You started out on the commercial side and you segued to residential. And that was 2012, 2013, you said?
Yep.
Okay. When we spoke a few weeks ago leading up to this conversation, you had mentioned, I think that you've found some success in brokering, is it new construction?
Yep.
Yeah. Working with builders?
Yep, exactly. Yep. Builders, developers. We have a good majority of our business for our team, which is Set Real Estate Group, is new development.
How did that, was that by plan? Was that part of the business plan, or was that just an opportunity that kind of came by way of, all the hard work and marketing that you and the team do along the way?
It definitely was not part of the business plan. I'll tell you that. And I'm not sure at the time when I was 24, I had a business plan. I probably should have, but I just wanted to take a risk and run with it. And that's kind of what I did. But, the new development side of the business kind of came to us probably within the first year to 2 years that I was in the business. And what happened was I saw an opportunity to, that builders in general, and just a little bit of background. I went to Georgia Tech and I got my master's in construction management to learn how to build a house. And so, my dad is a home builder. And so I grew up in that business. I like to tell people, like, when they went to church on Sundays, I was looking at real estate and walking job sites and picking up nails for, 10 cents a nail. So, and so I grew up on construction sites. And so I knew there was an opportunity in new construction as the spec market was slowly coming back. And I was reading these articles talking about how, confidence for new construction and home builders was up, and, they were all starting to think about doing spec homes again. And you have to remember, this is, 3, 4, 5 years post, recession, when all these builders, a lot of these builders went under. And so I started approaching these builders and saying, hey, like, are you interested in a spec home? Are you interested in doing something different? And a lot of them at the time were just thinking about getting back into it. And so for me, what I was able to do was, I said, hey, well, what do you need? And ultimately, what every builder wants is land, right? Like, you can only build a house on a piece of land, and you got to find the land. And so what I saw an opportunity to find land. And so our team started kind of really getting out in there, pushing sort of the land aspect of real estate. And, from there, our business grew with that kind of niche market a little bit. And it's been great for us. And to be honest, now a lot of times we just get calls because people know that we deal with builders who want land. And so it's been a big part of our business. It's a fun part of our business. It's a very hard part of our business. I'll tell you that. It takes a lot of time, and it's not just like a resale where you find a house, you put under contract, and 30 days later, you got a deal in front of you. I mean, these deals take time, year, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, we're working on some deals that are in their 4th or 5th year right now. So, they take time, but it's been a big part of our business, and it's been, a fun part of our business. It's something a little bit different.
And an industry where, the new agents can expect to get their first paycheck in 6 months, plus or minus, an industry that already requires a lot of time and patience. It sounds like working in the building niche, the new construction niche, that's even more, requires even more patience and determination.
Exactly. Yeah, it does. And, it's fun. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's fun to see a project that starts, day one, and then yeah, it may take 18 or 24 months, but it's awesome to see this final product that started as a vision and now becomes something in real life, and someone turns into be their home that they're going to live in and love for years to come. I mean, it's a really cool part of the business, and I love what I do. I need to say that it's very important to understand that, like, when I get up in the morning and I sell real estate, I love to sell real estate. I think it's fun. I think it's rewarding. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. And I mean, not many people can wake up in the morning and be like, oh yes, I get to go to a good job. I say that every morning. I'm like, so happy with what I'm doing. It's all fun. And so all these aspects of real estate, whether it be resale, new construction, condos, whatever it is, foreclosures. I mean, there's a million of different things. I mean, it's all just so fun to me. And so this was just another avenue that I saw, and there was an opportunity at the time, and I was able to kind of jump on it.
There's a lot to be said for doing the things that you love to do, like making a living at what you love to do. I recently watched one of Dan Martell's videos on YouTube, and he really stressed the point. The video was about I think it was like advice on starting your entrepreneurial journey, like the choices you need to make and how to do it and what you should do. And he said, the first thing you should do is kind of look at the things that you love to do and find out if that's something that you can do for other people, right? And so that reminded me of his point, and I think that's really important too, because you're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of personal sacrifice, a lot of personal investment too in real estate. Your broker's not going to pay for your marketing probably, or a lot of it. I'm curious to know how you connected with these builders. I love networking, as you could obviously. It's one of the points of this podcast is to expand a professional network, but also I love to know how professionals and entrepreneurs get their foot in the door with awesome clients and referral partners like that. How did you start that process?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to a member on our team, a few hours ago, and I told her, I'm like, networking is key in this business, right? And I'm like, whether or not you're going to meet anyone by your networking, I don't know. And whether or not you're going to get business from it, again, I'm not sure. But what I can tell you is it's going to give you an opportunity to get business. And so when we were just getting in the business, and me specifically, I was just networking as much as I could, trying to talk to people, go to different, YPN events, and I also tried to go to Georgia Association of Realtor events, Atlanta Realtor Association events, just try to do as much as I could to meet as many people as I could. And so luckily for me, when I did that, it just, someone knew somebody who put me in touch with somebody, and then, next thing you know, it turned into be, some of our best clients. And so I think networking, meeting new people is always such an important thing in this business, whether or not you're doing new construction or not. I think no matter if you're in residential real estate, you have got to get out there and meet people. It's the only way. I truly do believe that you're going to get new business that, wouldn't have otherwise come to you. So that's been, I would say that the referral / word of mouth thing was probably our biggest source sort of to meet these, builders, so to speak.
Referrals, word of mouth from just, consistent networking efforts, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And,
Yeah.
And then again, once you started doing more and more, I mean, the business started coming, but it just didn't come to us. I mean, I try to tell people that all the time. Like, we didn't just, sit around and let the business come to us. That's not by at any means what Set Real Estate Group does. We don't. I mean, we will go get the business. And so in this case, when I first started, I went out there to meet these people with an idea in mind that I was going to meet new clients, whether they be builders, investors, first time home buyers, whatever it is. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to meet as many people as I could and just, enlarge my, database and referral sources. So, and I still do that, by the way. That hasn't stopped. So.
Yeah, you can't stop, right? You have to continue to nurture that process and those relationships. The time to start marketing isn't when business is down, right? And don't stop when it's up.
Yeah.
What percentage of Set's business would you say is new construction or new builds?
We are probably somewhere close to 60% new
Wow.
development at this point.
Big chunk.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I think that number will grow in the next few years, honestly, as we're excited as a team that we are now expanding into sort of more of the new development from a larger aspect, kind of working with some of the builders who are doing tracts of land that will get 50, 60, 70, 80 homes or townhouses. And so we've got 4 or 5 of those in the pipeline that we're super excited about as well. And then we've also just expanded our team down into Florida, sort of on the panhandle, where is another opportunity that we saw that, we could potentially, grow our team there as well. And so we're doing that as well. So I think that number will grow, that percentage. But, obviously there's that is a business that could come and go at any time. And we do realize that. So,
Sure. Yeah. Everything's cyclical in this business. The only thing that's certain is that it's uncertain. So, yeah.
Agreed.
I noticed on your Instagram that something about the Emerald Coast. So I didn't realize that you had also expanded to the Panhandle. What area of the Panhandle?
Yeah, so we've got a team member that's down in kind of the Panama City Beach area, and we're kind of selling everywhere from 30A all the way, as I would say, kind of west to like Cape San Blas. And so we're super excited about that opportunity and kind of what that market could potentially bring. There's a lot of synergies between Atlanta and the Emerald Coast, and so we saw that opportunity. To be honest, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a long time and to grow the business. And so it's been a fresh start, so to speak, and we are actively growing, but we're really excited about what's in store for us there.
It's got to be exciting to kind of expand into a new market and change your horizons a little bit, or change the scenery a little bit. Would you say 30A in that area would be kind of a second home market for a lot of folks in Atlanta?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was a big part of why we felt there was an opportunity there, right? It's like a lot of our clients in Atlanta are buying second homes there. And whether it be, again, Panama City Beach or 30A or Cape San Blas or, Port St. Joe, I mean, whatever the neighborhood be or the city be, for us, we saw an opportunity that people from Atlanta were going there. And, people trust us. And that's one thing that I think, I truly do run my business on trust. I think it's just such an important part of this business with people. And so after they have a great, let's say a great transaction with us, they're always thinking about us. And it's funny how many times we got calls over the last 5 to 10 years. We're like, hey, we're buying a house in, North Georgia. Do you sell there? Or, hey, we're buying a house in Florida. Do you sell there? And we're like, no. And, and we finally realized, hey, it's maybe time to actually spread to that market. And I'm excited. Look, I was 24 last time I opened up a new market, right? Which is when I started selling in Atlanta. And so, it's been 13 years, but it's been almost 13 years now that I'm, been in this market. And so it's something new and it's something that I haven't done in a long time. So it's super exciting for us to have that opportunity.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's a really cool market. It's an exciting market to expand into. That's really cool. I'd love to share circling back a little bit to the networking that we talked about and how you were able to earn these connections, make connections with new home builders. What advice would you have for someone who, not necessarily someone who's thinking about becoming a real estate agent, but probably more so someone who is in the industry, has some experience, is capable and competent to handle, to bring service and value to a home builder in these transactions? Maybe someone in the 5 to 6 year range of residential real estate. What sort of advice would you have for them if there are those who want to, work more in the new construction area?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, relationships are key, and I think nurturing a relationship is so important. And I think when you make a connection, anybody in any business, the follow-up is just so important. And I think that without follow-up, you truly cannot have a relationship with someone that will last, more than months. And when we build a relationship with any client of ours, we want that relationship to be for life. I mean, we joke around. We're like, we want to be your real estate agent for the rest of your lives, right? And whether you sell your second house, third house, second home, whatever it be, we want to be your go-to for that. And so what I've learned is that the relationship side of this business is so important, and it really is important on the follow-up aspect. And so when I say that, let me give an example, because I think everyone could say something and not understand really what that means. But when we meet somebody, I follow up within usually 6 to 8 hours via text message, right? And then I also will add them to my database within 12 to 24 hours. I mean, that's just standard. And then usually I'll put something in my calendar to follow up with that person within 3 to 7 business days from the first time I met with them. So by then I've already have a plan of action of how I'm going to follow up. And again, that doesn't mean I'm texting them being like, hey, when can we get your business? But it's, hey, how are you today? Hey, you want to grab coffee? Hey, would you like to meet? There's a lot of things you can do. And then what I'm doing is after that week meeting, I'm then setting my kind of 30, 60, 90-day plan on these, being like, how am I following up with this person? When's the next time I'm going to follow up with them? And I'm not bothering them every week by any means. Let's say one time every 30 days. But the idea is going to be the more you follow up with someone, the more you meet with them, the more you have coffee with them, the more you touch base with them, the more trust you're going to gain. And then maybe when that opportunity comes up, they'll be like, hey, I'm going to call David. I've been meaning to call him, and here's an opportunity for him that we'd like to talk to him about. And I think that goes for, again, in any aspect of real estate. I think if you have a new client that calls for you for a potential buyer, and the buyer calls you and says, hey, I want to buy a house, I'm going to be looking in 6 months. The follow up till you get to that 6 months is so important, because if you don't follow up, 6 months are going to go by and you're never going to hear from them. So, I think that follow up is key. I think it's key in any business, but I truly do believe it's key in real estate.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that both of those points are dead on. The follow-up, I've had several guests on this podcast, and I know several really highly successful real estate brokers here in the Charlotte metro area, specifically Lake Norman, who are sort of mentors to me. And they, really just repeat over and over that success in real estate is about relationships. It's really, whether it's client relationships or referral partner relationships, like it takes time and patience to earn that trust and also make a friend.
Yeah. I mean, a relationship's about two people, right? Or, but ideally, two sides of a deal, or two sides of two people, kind of going back and forth. And there's two, you've got to follow up to have that relationship. And if you don't have follow up, then there'll be no relationship. And so
Right.
It's so important for me to tell you, everyone listening, that a lot of my business didn't just come to me one day. And it took a lot of hard work. And, for us on this new development stuff, it was not something that just showed up. Like we created relationships. We had them for a long time. I mean, I have relationships now with people that I've had relationships for 7, 8 years in business, and I haven't done one deal with them. And, within the last 3 months, I've done 5. And so as much as, at the time for those 5 or 6 months, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm putting, all the time that we're putting into this, and we haven't got a deal. Now all of a sudden all the deals are coming. So, everyone's always looking for, the gold right in front of their eyes, right? But you got to look sometimes long term, and the relationship part of this business will help you long term kind of get to that goal.
Jeffrey Gitomer, a sales guru and prolific author over the years, says something in probably more than one of his books, and I'm pretty sure I've read them all. It's been a few years since I picked one up, but I'm pretty sure early in my entrepreneurial journey, I read just about every book he wrote. And he has this quote or this saying where he likes to say that all things being equal, people would prefer to buy from a friend or work with a friend, or that's, then all things not being equal, people would still prefer to work with, a friend or purchase from a friend. So, and a friend, like someone they know, like, and trust, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be a close friend, but someone who provides that value and that counsel and that they've developed a relationship with, goes so far, especially when it comes to referrals.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and we joke around. We tell people now we want to be like your concierge real estate agent. Like, if you need something regarding your house, we want to be like your concierge, where you send us a text message and we will give you a name of somebody within 30 minutes of you asking. And I can almost guarantee you that they'll give you good service, they'll have good pricing, and more importantly, they'll be trustworthy people. And so, the day we close with a client is not the last day we're hearing from them until we decide to follow up with an email once every quarter. We are constantly in contact with a lot of our past clients, and a lot of them, it's, I just had a client yesterday who sent me a text. I mean, they had a leak in their irrigation system, and the first person they thought about texting before they called their plumber was me. And so, that's what we want. And I sent them the name of a plumber, and I said, call this guy, tell me you're part of the Set Real Estate Group. I'm sure they'll be out there within the next few hours, and you'll get it fixed. And of course, they had a great experience. And the next thing you know, they texted me and said, thank you so much. It's all fixed, and you're the best. And so those are the things that we're doing now that I think as real estate agents, there's been a ton of change this past year, as we all know. And I think this is something that, we're trying to help with people with. And we see that, there is I don't want to say a big need for this, but there is a future in the fact that we want to be someone's sort of concierge, and we want to be a good resource for our clients. And we don't want to, by the way, put a sign in their yard, sell their house, never hear from them again, and they never hear from us again, because that's no way to have a relationship or to nurture a relationship with someone. So we are always in contact for a reason, and this is an important thing. That's an example of one of the many things that come through during the week. But any help that we can do to a client, we will.
I brought up Jeffrey Gitomer, and speaking of books, another thing that I love to ask guests are, any suggestions for resources for, those who are thinking about getting into the business or those who are in the business. What have been some impactful resources that you've consumed over the years, whether it's a book or a series of books, a particular author, online programs, online digital resources? What do you have?
Yeah. So two sides of that. Okay. And I'm going to preface this with, I am not a reader. And I never have been a reader. However, I do read when I'm very intrigued by a book. And so, I'm not the kind of person that's going to pick up a book about finance and start reading about, how to retire at the age of 50. That just doesn't really excite me. And I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I'm going to go read that book every night before bed. That's just not who I am. And I'm very honest about that. And so
I appreciate your honesty, by the way.
Yeah. But for me, I do read when something is intriguing, and especially when I truly do believe that there's value in real estate. So, but at the same time, I also feel there's other ways to learn about real estate and kind of improve your trade. And I'll tell you about those in a second. But from a book perspective, I can tell you that I like to read books that are written by real estate agents, not people who are doing real estate or have advice about real estate, but people who, not investors or not, again, home builders or foreclosure, buyers or whatever. That's not the stuff that I read about. What I read about is real estate agents in the industry who have succeeded and what they're doing to succeed. Because I think that competition is great. And I think learning from your competition will only make you a better agent. And I think, I'm a big NFL guy. When someone plays the Chiefs, right? I always find that they play better than they probably are because they're playing the Chiefs, right? And so when I read about, some of these amazing agents, it makes me want to play better almost. And so I take what they're doing and kind of copy them and try to put it in my business. And, and I think people do that to us now. I think we've got the brand now in Atlanta that we see that. And I'm not offended by any means. I take it as a compliment, honestly, that we've done something right. But so some of the books by the $1 Million Listing guys, right? Like I've always found those to be super intriguing books because here's a very successful real estate agents have a crazy schedule. They're selling real estate, also filming, and have done billions of dollars of sales, and they'll tell you how they do it and what they do and how they set their schedule up. And so I was a huge fan of Frederick Eklund's book. I think it's called The Sell, and it just talked about the secrets of him selling. And that to me excited me because I'm like, this is someone who's doing what I'm doing every day and what I want to do better at. I also am a big fan of education in general. And I tell everyone on our team, continuing your education, not just because you have to, because you have CE classes you've got to get to renew your license, but going to CE classes, and even if you don't need the hours, but just to learn is so important because the more knowledge you have, the better resource you become for your agent, the better agent you become, the more trustworthy you become, you have that relationship that you build. And so I think what makes us good agents, and this is everyone on the set team, is that we always are trying to just like improve who we are. I mean, I've been doing this again 13, 14 years. I'm still learning things every day, right? And so what I see is I see that every time I'm learning something new, it makes me a better real estate agent. And I want to be the best real estate agent I can be. And I do that for my clients. And so I'm always still doing CE classes, whether it be, new buyers or, learning about VA loans or, new contract changes in the state of Georgia, whatever it be. I'm always just trying to improve my trade.
Larry Kendall talks about the importance from Ninja Selling, talks about the importance of the company you keep, right? And you had mentioned that analogy, how teams who play average until they play the Chiefs and tend to rise to the occasion, right? Play better than they normally would when they play a team like the Chiefs. And he mentions in Ninja Selling, the book, that while building out his brokerages in Colorado, if he had an agent that was underperforming for some reason that he couldn't understand why, he would usually look at who they were spending their time with. And if they were spending their time with the victims and the spectators, he would make it a point to take them by the hand and lead them to sit and to spend time with the players, right, the performers. And sure enough, that's usually all it would take. Just change their environment, and they would start their production would start soaring again. So, I've said this in other podcasts that I produce all the time that and it's I echo a lot of other a lot of thought leaders, not other thought leaders. I don't consider myself a thought leader, but I echo thought leaders that I listen to, and that is that concept that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Yeah. And yeah. I think that's really important. What do you think about that?
I think it's so important. I mean, I have the best real estate partners that anybody could want in the business, and they're like-minded individuals who want to succeed, and we push each other to, I don't think I'd be where I am today without my partner Ina or without my partner Mike. I truly don't, and I don't think they would be where they are today, and they probably would say this, or at least I hope they would, to anyone, but they will not be where they are today without me. And again, sometimes we disagree on things, but the fact that, we can collaborate, without having egos is a huge thing. And, sometimes they point things out to me that I would never thought about. And sometimes, they point things out to me that I've thought about a million times and, I just needed to hear it from somebody else. And so for me, it's like, the surrounding myself with just like-minded individuals who want to succeed, who want to do well, who want to continue to grow, who aren't okay with just being mediocre is so important. And that's kind of why I'm excited for kind of where I am now.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree with that. David, before I let you go, I do want to thank Kenzie Harkey, who introduced us. Kenzie's the owner of Simply Dare, a professional home organizing company. And I met her here in the Charlotte market. She's expanded to Atlanta, and huge congratulations to her. She's super smart, and she and her team have built just a really cool company. So she thought of you when I asked, if she had some suggestions there in Atlanta of some agents I should connect with. And so big thanks to her. And I'll have a link, of course, to Simply Dare in the description for this episode.
Yeah, let me just add. I mean, I talk about my concierge concept, right? In real estate, I mean, we are asked all the time for different people, and I have had clients who have used Kenzie and just swear by her and love her work. I've seen her work, but again, giving out someone's name that I know, that I trust, that I know is going to do a good job, that I know is not going to take advantage of the client, is just so important to me. And so, whether that be organization or that be a plumber, like I talked about earlier, I mean, it's just so important in your business to have these resources. And so I'm very fortunate to have one in her, and that's been, great.
Yeah, she's an awesome recommendation. Simply Dare is a great recommendation. And yeah, when we recommend a local business to a client, it's kind of, we're transferring that trust. It's really a reflection on us too. So you gotta be careful with who you recommend, right?
Yeah.
And when you find a resource like that, it's like gold.
Correct. Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, I think, part of giving a resource is great if the resource is good. But right. Where you run into an issue as an agent is when you give a resource that isn't good. And then your client has a bad experience. unfortunately they're going to remember that, and they're going to remember who sent them that person. And so, it's kind of like when someone refers out a bad restaurant and you go to the restaurant and they say, hey, it's amazing. You get there and it's like the worst food ever and the worst service. You're going to be like, I'm never taking a recommendation for that person ever again.
Right.
And I don't like trust that person to give me good food recommendations because they sent me somewhere terrible. It's the same thing in real estate. Like, you're remembered for sometimes for who you refer out. And so it's just so important to make sure that your resources and your referral partners are really good people who know what they're doing and really will do your client, the best justice they can.
That's really worth spending some time and investing some time and resources into connecting with those businesses, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I can tell you that these are not businesses that come to us and say, hey, here's our card. We're selling business now in Atlanta and we want to get your business doing HVAC work, as an example. I mean, these are people for us that we have used. A lot of us have used them on our own personal home, but we would not recommend anyone before we use them on our own personal homes or before we had some sort of interaction with them. And, it's just the idea that we want to see them in action with what they do and just make sure that they're going to be a good reflection on our team. And so, as you can imagine, I mean, we get calls all the time from people who are painters or HVAC companies and, inspection groups and stuff like that. I mean, this is pretty common in this industry. And so we are very serious with what names we give out to people because we don't want someone to have a bad experience and then, have a bad taste in their mouth about us as an agent. It's just not what we want. So, and that's why, yes, it's so important to just, to sort of see this thing through.
I totally agree with that too. Yeah, 100%. Follow up in relationships, two takeaways that I'm going to take away from this conversation.
Okay.
The two top takeaways. There's other things I'll take away as well, but I want listeners to really remember that too. Follow up in relationships. David, how can listeners learn more about you and connect with you?
Yeah. So again, thanks again for having me. This was awesome. So you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is DSIRZYK. So it's at DSirzyk or at Set Real Estate Group. And you can check us out on the web, setrealestategroup.com. Or my information's all over the internet. You can call me, text me anytime, any help that can be to anyone. I'd always love to help.
David, the feeling's mutual. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you joining the podcast. This was an awesome conversation. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully have me back sometime. We can do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.